What's going on, everyone? This is Mr. West and this is the Vernee Mix 2. And let's just say the Xiaomi Mi Mix has a lot to answer for. This is yet another bezel-less budget smartphone to come out of China and joins the ever-growing horde of shiny low-cost Android handsets which seem to multiply every week. The Vernee Mix 2 is one great looking device with looks and build quality which belie its sub £200 price tag. For this money, you're getting a sleek metal chassis sandwiched between a smooth and glossy rear glass back and an extra tall 18:9 6-inch Full HD Plus IPS LCD display. And to me at least, the phone looks gorgeous, with its piano black rear glass catching reflections and fingerprints to give a really eye-popping design. Joining the back panel is a rear-mounted fingerprint reader and a fake dual camera setup housing a singular 13-megapixel sensor with a dummy one next to it, but more on this later. Around the front stands the lofty 6-inch display, and this is joined in the bottom right corner by a standard 8-megapixel selfie camera and an earpiece squeezed up top just below the 3.5mm headphone jack. There's also a proximity sensor and ambient light detector, and finishing things off is an LED indicator for charging status and missed call or messaging event. Around the left hand side of the phone is the SIM slot, which can house either two SIMs or one with a micro SD card up to 128GB in size. To the right is the power key and volume rockers, and down the bottom is the micro USB port which supports fast charging and speaker grills, but please bear in mind this is mono only and the other houses the microphone. Overall, the design looks and feels great with solid build and a nice weighty feel in the hand which adds an air of premium to the overall package. Under the hood is the Helio P25 Octa Core CPU plus 4 or 6GB of RAM and 64GB of built-in storage. The phone ships with Android 7.0 Nougat out of the box and is largely a stock experience with some very minor additions. There's also a generous 4200 mAh battery, which I'll talk about more in a bit. General use was snappy and quick, but I found the Android software package lacked any kind of flair, with practically zero animations when opening folders compared to some of the other budget Chinese devices I've tried recently. For some, this may not be such a bad thing, and the phone certainly goes about its business quickly, opening apps swiftly and navigating with ease. The rear-mounted fingerprint reader was quick and accurate for the most part, but there were times when it needed a few presses to ensure the biometrics recognised your fingerprints. Also a strange quirk whereby certain apps such as PayPal and Google Play Store wouldn't use the fingerprint, and I suspect this was more to do with the software loaded on the phone rather than a fault with the fingerprint scanner itself. Gaming and multitasking was also great, with even graphically intensive games handled well on high settings, and loading times are pretty impressive given the low cost. It says a lot about the overall performance that the phone just went about its business, allowing me to enjoy consuming content without any hiccups, and I was therefore suitably impressed with how the Mix 2 articulated itself in day-to-day use. The only thing which spoils the experience somewhat is the fact that the phone is quite weighty, and this can lead to some hand fatigue over prolonged use. Whilst no deal breaker, this is something I noted and therefore something you should be aware of if you're thinking of purchasing the phone. And what better to experience all this content than with the marvellous 6-inch display. Despite some expected colour shift at extreme angles, this is a really pleasing display to look at, with punchy colours and good brightness, which I found to be consistently good whether watching a movie, TV show or with browsing web pages and apps. With its extra tall aspect, watching films recorded in the 235:1 format is fantastic, with an immersive and totally cinematic view which you just don't get with a standard 16:9 display. Apps also auto-populate the entire display, and despite some minor rendering hiccups with a handful of games, this was a really enjoyable screen to look at throughout my time with the phone. Split screen apps are also supported, and this feature works just fine, although I found changing the volume would sometimes inadvertently activate the split screen functions for no apparent reason. Onto audio, and through either the 3.5mm headphone jack or Bluetooth, the Vernee Mix 2 offers up decent detail and a nice smooth listen, but as seems to be the norm for similar phones in this price bracket, there's not enough outright volume to help do the sound quality any justice, meaning you have to constantly run the volume at near maximum to get any type of enjoyment. It's not a disaster, but falls into my do better ranking on this occasion. Additionally, the single downward firing loudspeaker is tinny and weak and is therefore serviceable at best. This is also same for the earpiece, which although being clear, didn't really go loud enough and is something you'll struggle with in noisier environments. Signal quality through both Wi-Fi and 4G connectivity was fine, with good signal lock and more than acceptable speed whether using cellular or home broadband. GPS was also fine, get me to my destination with no problems, and that extra wide screen adds an extra dimension to on-screen navigation. Now on to battery power. I was easily able to get a full day's use from the phone before heading back to the charger. Thanks to its quick charging technology, I was able to get a quick boost of power in around 20 minutes, or a full charge in a little over 90 minutes. Dash charger isn't, but I came away suitably impressed with the battery performance over extended use. So okay, let's talk about imaging. There's a good array of settings available in the stock camera app, but some of them are largely useless, and I found it better to just stick to the standard mode and toggle HDR on or off depending on preference. With HDR on, this deactivates the settings and does all the work by itself. However, you do get control over focus, exposure and ISO to help get the best result. But despite all of this, sadly the camera is one area where the Vernee Mix 2 falls down a little, as it turns out this is just a singular lens with a dummy second unit. I've made a separate video detailing my thoughts on this, so please go check it out after this video, which helps to explain things in more detail. But whilst in good lighting photos look okay, I found them to lack outright detail compared to say the Xiaomi Mi A1, which can be had for around the same price. Despite playing around with the settings in HDR mode, I did find it difficult to just point and shoot to get a great shot. Low light was a similar story, with the sensor struggling to get much detail, but with a steady hand a decent shot could be achieved, if nothing spectacular. This is not to say any of the images are a disaster, but as I've said before, one good camera is better than two average ones, and whilst you're able to achieve portrait style shots with some bokeh effects, I'd say the overall experience is something which can be improved upon in later revisions of the phone. Video was okay, with low light suffering from blurriness, but daylight was good with great stabilisation and only shifts in exposure spoiling the mix. The selfie camera up front is usable at best, but don't count on it to make you look beautiful anytime soon. Overall for imaging, I'd say I've seen a lot worse, but don't count on the Vernee Mix 2 as your primary camera device if imaging matters to you. So, is the Vernee Mix 2 worth your consideration? Despite its imaging issues, this is without doubt one of my favourite budget devices I've tested, with excellent build quality, awesome looks, a great screen and good usability, which I found to be worthy enough to use as my daily driver over an extended period. As I said at the beginning of the video, there's now an updated model with 6GB of RAM, and therefore this makes it an even more enticing purchase. With this in mind, this gets a wholehearted recommendation from me and is well worth a look if your budget is tight and you want that big screen experience without a big outlay. Stay tuned for more great content coming soon, so please be sure to like the video, subscribe and ensure you activate the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. But for now, this has been my review of the Vernee Mix 2. My name is Mr. West, and I will catch you guys later.